I've now spent a fair amount of time in both Skyrim and Fallout 4 survival mode, and I've recently been thinking about which one I prefer and why. There are a lot of factors to take into account, so I'm going to try and split this video into sections, where I compare shared elements from both games, and then at the end give my final verdict. To start things off, let's talk about the main elements that make up a survival mode. In Skyrim, we have food, tiredness, and warmth to contend with. In Fallout, we are missing a warmth meter, instead having to contend with thirst. In both games, failure to manage these will result in increasingly severe debuffs to your character, and may even lead to death. The debuffs you receive all have similarities, generally focusing on weakening certain elements of your character. For example, as your hunger increases in Skyrim, your melee attacks become slower, and you're less effective with shields and sneaking, whilst in Fallout 4, not staying hydrated leads to a reduction in the special stats of intelligence, perception, and luck. Obviously, all of these can be crippling to you when you play, but depending on the build you have chosen, they may not be as bad as they seem. In my one gun run of Fallout 4, I'm playing as a character who only has 1 point of intelligence and perception, so getting thirsty isn't much of an issue for me, and I can even sometimes use it to my advantage. Likewise in Skyrim survival mode, the debuffs from not sleeping regularly affect mages quite severely, but a non-magic user can go without sleep for a long time without suffering penalties to any of the ways they play. Another form of debuffs you will find in both games are diseases. These can be gained in a variety of different ways, however they do seem far more frequent in Fallout. Additionally, I feel that curing them is harder in Fallout 2. In Skyrim you can spend 100 gold to pray at a shrine and the disease will be gone, or you can use a cure disease potion which can be crafted or bought. In Fallout you need antibiotics, to be well rested for several days, or to get it cured by a doctor. At first, this may sound easier than curing disease in Skyrim, but it rarely is. Running across antibiotics in the wild doesn't happen often, and getting a doctor to cure you will eat up your caps, and for me personally, rarely seems to actually work. Sleeping in a good bed is also not a very reliable way to cure diseases, and could even lead to you ending up in a worse situation than you were before. This tends to make antibiotics the go-to choice for curing disease, and plenty of players invest in the chemist perk so they can craft them, but using antibiotics comes with its own downsides too, as it adds to your thirst and suppresses immunity. As for the actual diseases you get, Fallout 4 once again has the harsher ones here. Getting infection or weakness utterly cripples your character, whereas I honestly can't even remember what the specific negative effects of diseases in Skyrim were, as none of them stood out as any worse than the debuffs given by not eating or sleeping enough. In my opinion, this puts a point in favour of Fallout 4. Survival modes are supposed to be challenging and make you feel more vulnerable, and the diseases in Fallout do this so well. The next big feature of a survival mode is travelling. Both games have fast travel disabled, however they each have their own alternatives to moving around the map. In Fallout you have the Institute Teleporter or the Brotherhood Vertebrates. As the name suggests, these are both tied to specific factions, and additionally they're very limited in how they assist you, always just offering a one-way journey to somewhere you've already travelled to on foot before. Skyrim on the other hand has horses, carriages and boats. Carriages and boats work similar to the Fallout 4 fast travel options, giving you a one-off journey to a specific location. The difference would be that you're more limited as to where you can potentially go. However, you don't have to have travelled there previously. The big difference though is being able to have your own horse in Skyrim, providing you with a faster way to travel around the various holds. I personally prefer the greater ease of travel that Skyrim provides. It creates a good balance between restricting your ability to constantly go anywhere at any time, whilst also not forcing you to constantly trek back and forth between locations. The final comparison section I want to go over is game difficulty. Skyrim survival mode is just that, a survival mode. It doesn't change the actual game difficulty, and you can choose yourself how hard you want fights to be. This means you can still wander around as a one-hit kill warrior on Novice, or you can deal with insanely tough enemies on legendary difficulty. Fallout 4 has the survival setting as an actual difficulty, and really changes the game. Everyone does more damage, leading to intense firefights where using cover and shooting first becomes incredibly important. Fights feel very intense, especially seeing as you're almost always outgunned, and having numbers on your side is a huge advantage when every shot can result in a kill. For me, Fallout's difficulty is by far the better, and has to be what I enjoy most of all about the survival mode, as it just makes the whole thing feel more real. Fights in Skyrim can often feel like a bit of a grind or a walkover, whereas the Fallout fights always have at least a tiny bit of tension to them. Before I give my final verdict on which game did survival better, I want to acknowledge the fact that I've skipped over so many different aspects, such as the sleep to save system in Fallout and varying temperatures on the map in Skyrim. But if I was to analyse every detail, then this video would end up being several hours long, and nobody wants that. When I first conceptualised this video, I had an idea in my head as to which survival mode was superior. I've tried to stay neutral when weighing up the games though, and I've poured a lot of time into both survival modes as I've been working on this script. Making this video has changed my opinions on both survival modes, as I no longer feel that one is better than the other. For the more casual player, Skyrim survival mode is likely to be the more enjoyable. The customisable difficulty and ability to save whenever you want makes it more accessible to players of any skill level, and doesn't gate people off for not having the greatest reflexes or the highest understanding of all the game mechanics. On the other hand, Fallout 4 has a much more hardcore survival mode. Not being able to just jump back to a recent quick save, and having to really struggle in the early game to get yourself to a stage where you feel powerful, makes it so much more appealing for anyone who is playing a survival mode to be challenged. Of course, it isn't the hardest gaming experience out there, but it still provides a significant challenge to the majority of players, especially on your first time experiencing it. This is all just my opinion though, and I'm sure all of you have your own opinions as to which game did survival mode better, and I look forward to hearing these in the comments below. If you enjoyed this style of video, do click the like button to let me know, and subscribe if you want a variety of RPG focused content. Thank you all very much for watching. Sarge out.